All right. Welcome, everyone, to the webinar on NSDF today, Tuesday, January 18th, 22. We'll give a few minutes for people to just sort of get into the webinar here. I see the participant list keeps increasing. So before we get started, I'll give a few minutes for people to join in. See, we're at 41 and climbing now. Hopefully everyone's enjoying all the snow. Okay, seem to have topped off on the attendees here, so I will get started here with first introducing myself. So thank you for joining us today, and welcome to our January Near Surface Disposal Facility webinar. And this webinar is on the Chalk River Laboratories cleanup mission. As always, I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of the Algonquin nations, whose traditional and unceded territory we are gathered upon. Well, most of us here today are gathered upon today. And certainly we know in the territory that a lot of snow has come down, and certainly given us the gift of shoveling, but also the gift of a lot of beautiful snow activities. So looking forward to that. This is a 1 hour long webinar. We will do a question and answer period at the end for about 10 to 15 minutes. We will try to keep the questions within the scope of the presentation today. So if the questions, are outside of that, if you have another question on CNL or some of the other activities we're doing, we're happy to have those questions as well. Just we won't be able to answer them today, so we'll have to take note of them and get back to you at a later date. And as always, if you do have questions that come to you later or comments, we are always happy to get those as well. And you can email us at ermstakeholder@cnl.ca. I would like to point out that this webinar is available in both French and English, so you can toggle that yourself through the Zoom platform. That's at the bottom bottom right side, I believe, of the platform. You'll see it's like an icon that looks like a little globe. If you press that, that allows you to access the desirable language feed you would like to, and either French or English. So just note that, please, if that's something you'd like. I'd also like to point out that we are recording this webinar because we do post these to our YouTube channel. Usually it's available in the next few days, so you can go back and have a look at it, or you are able to share it with people that maybe weren't able to attend. So please take advantage of that if need be, and actually look at the whole back catalog of the webinars we've been doing over the last several years. And there is a ton of information up on our YouTube channel, so I do encourage you to do that. Okay. As I mentioned, we will do the Q&A session at the end, and I think I'm ready to turn it over to our guests today from the project. So we have 3 people online. Well, the fourth one is me. I'm Mitch McKay. I'm manager of the ERM Stakeholder Relations group here at the Chalk River site. But I have with me Sandra, Grace, and Luke, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and then we'll get started with the presentation. So Grace, why don't we start with you? We'll move to Luke and end off with Sandra.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Grace Snell. I am the manager for the cleanup function, which works across all CNL sites, but specifically here to talk to you today about Chalk River. Luke?
Yes, sorry about the mute button. So my name is Luke Robitaille. I work in Grace's group. I've been working principally on the cleanup plan and decommissioning plan for the Chalk River site.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandra Fott. I'm the manager that has been working on the regulatory approvals for the NSDF project.
All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, Grace, I think you're running the slides for us today, so why don't we head to the first slide, and Sandra, why don't you start us off?
All right. So good morning, everyone, and thanks again for taking time out of your day to learn more about some activities here at Chalk River. With regards to the near surface disposal facility project, we've got a pretty exciting 2022 on deck. And I think I just did a calculation. It's 34 days from today is the part 1 hearing for the project. So just as a reminder, the NSDF hearing, public commission hearing, will be held in 2 parts. The first part will be CNL and CNSC staff presenting to the commission. Public are invited to observe through the webinar, and all information on how to do that is on the CNSC website. And if you did need any help finding that, please let us know and we'll help direct you. The second part of the hearing will be starting on May 31st, and that is when we will hear input from interveners, so Indigenous nations, as well as the public. So CNL and CNSC staff will also be in attendance for that one to answer questions. The request to intervene must be filed with the commission. It's now called the registrar, actually, the secretariat, by April 11th. Again, information on how to intervene is on the CNSC website, but we are certainly happy to direct you to that if needed. Just as a side note, if at any time anyone listening today would like to have a conversation with the project staff, we would be happy to do so before you submit your intervention. So please reach out to the email address that Mitch showed at the beginning, and I think is shown again at the end, stakeholder@cnl.ca, and we'd be happy to arrange that. So that's where we are with the hearing, and we're really looking forward to the questions from the commission in a few weeks, as well as hearing from you all as interveners.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. And Grace, if you want to go to the next slide here, I'll give the brief little update on this. So as the title says here, this is a sort of an ad for upcoming community update. And we just wanted to make sure everyone on this webinar was aware that ACL and CNL are going to provide a community update on the future of the Chalk River Laboratories. So you're certainly all invited. And we want you to learn more about our, Canada's National Nuclear Laboratory. They'll be discussing current projects and future plans, and that is on Monday, January 24th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And you can visit the site www.cnl.ca/future to learn more. And I believe they are encouraging people to register. I don't think you have to register, but you are encouraged. And there will be both English and French streams available, and opportunities to submit questions will follow the prepared sort of remarks that they're going to have. So do encourage you to join that to learn more about the future of the labs and where we're going. So very exciting to have that available to our publics as well. Again, January 24th at 7 p.m. So thank you very much. Next slide, Grace. All right. I think this is so Chalk River Laboratories cleanup mission in the NSDF. So this is a presentation, related to the NSDF, but sort of a presentation that we wanted to do because during, over the course of the development of the NSDF project and of the feedback we've received from the community and Indigenous communities as well, we've heard that, it's great to hear about the actual NSDF project, but what role does the NSDF play in the wider picture of the cleanup mission at the Chalk River site? What is that mission? How does it work? How can the public be involved in that? How can Indigenous communities be involved in that? So we thought at this point it would be important to provide that sort of an update and show how the NSDF links into this wider mission. So this is kind of the purpose of the presentation today, and we hope that it sort of does that and maybe feeds some questions as well to help us, better respond and better make the overall cleanup mission conducive to the public and Indigenous communities. So next slide, Grace.
Yep, I think this is where I kick off. So I'll just kind of reintroduce myself and Luke. I'm the manager for the cleanup function that works across CNL, and I've got Luke here, Luke Robitaille here today as an environmental remediation specialist who's been focused on the development of the overview, decommissioning and cleanup plan for the site. I'm here to talk today about the cleanup of Chalk River Labs in relation to ongoing missions. As you can see, there are 3 key missions at CNL and at Chalk River. The ongoing science and technology missions are continuing world-class research and development of technologies for clean energy for today and tomorrow, as well as research that is contributing to the health of Canadians. The main focus of today, however, will be talking around CNL's mission to restore and protect the environment to support these ongoing missions. And apologies if there's I think there might be a little bit of a delay. So if I start talking and there's no slides up, please let me know. So I won't spend too much time going through the current and future science and technology missions for the Chalk River site, but this slide gives you a flavour of the type of work that is being conducted, and if this is something that you would like to hear more about, we would love to hear that feedback and arrange future webinars. In terms of clean energy for today, however, for today and tomorrow, the main scope here includes enhancing knowledge for the development and assessment of regulatory requirements, supporting the development of new energy-related technologies to enable a transition to a competitive low-carbon economy, validating and developing safety analysis methodologies for regulatory purposes, and developing Canadian resources, for example, advancing fuel supply opportunities for small modular reactors for Canada. In terms of the mission to contribute to the health of Canadians, this mission is focused on the continued research into health effects of radiation, developing medical applications and developing better methods for diagnosis and treatment of cancers using biological applications of nuclear research. So what is actually needed at the Chalk River site to support these enduring and important missions? As you may know, at the Chalk River site, we've been in operation since the 40s, and as such, some of the infrastructure and supporting services are aging or redundant. In order to continue leading the world in nuclear research, the Chalk River site is being revitalized to a modern campus feel. So this modern research campus is being developed principally within the existing footprint of the developed area. And what does revitalization of the site actually mean? So This is around creation of new labs, research centre, new office space and business hub, modernized logistics facility, having green open space campus feel for the site, upgrading those site services that are required to support the future missions, and removal of old redundant facilities. So the revitalization continues with construction of the Advanced Nuclear Materials Research Centre, a business hub, CNL support facility, logistics warehouse facility, and several enhancements to supporting infrastructure. So in terms of what do we need to do in order to achieve site revitalization as responsible stewards of the environment, this is where CNL's third mission to restore and protect the environment comes in. As mentioned, the site has been in operation for more than 70 years, and as such, there is aging infrastructure, buildings, and legacy waste that need to be addressed. As you can see, there's sort of three key elements to restoring and protecting Canada's environment. Firstly, waste management, and this is how CNL manages operational and legacy waste at the site. Waste management practices have evolved over time with the industry, and CNL continues to manage waste according to industry standard. Secondly, environmental protection ensures that site operations and legacy buildings and waste are monitored and managed to ensure no adverse impact to the human health and environment. And thirdly, cleanup, which encompasses decommissioning and remediation activities that need to occur at the site to deal with the legacy challenges that remain, such as redundant buildings and affected lands. So these three key areas all work together to ensure the protection and restoration of the environment to support a sustainable future for the Chalk River site and those ongoing missions. I'm going to talk briefly about waste management to start off with. So on the left here, this is the waste hierarchy. It illustrates CNL's approach to waste management, which is applied across all types of waste. At CNL, we focus on prevention, reduction, reuse, recycling prior to any consideration for disposal. On the right, you'll see the waste management process, which is how we can deliver that hierarchy. So planning and preparation is key in being able to deliver against that hierarchy, gathering relevant information through waste characterization, the inventory and understanding the best route to prevent, reduce, reuse, recycle, and lastly, if necessary, dispose. Another key element of planning and preparation is that this informs the enabling facilities needed to manage waste effectively. And the NSDF is a really good example of a key enabling facility, which is needed in order to clean up the site. In terms of where our waste is generated from and what that looks like. We have three different types of waste generation. There's operational waste, legacy waste, and decommissioning environmental remediation waste. So operational waste refers to generally small volumes generated through current and future science and technology missions and site revitalization. Legacy waste refers to waste that requires retrievals from in-ground or above ground storage that already exists on the site, waste that has already been produced over the 70 years operation. And then finally, decommissioning environmental remediation waste is bulk waste produced from decommissioning an environment and removal of old facilities and remediation of affected lands. So this is predominantly made up of building debris and soil. Transportation of waste at Chalk River is conducted in accordance with transportation of dangerous goods requirements. And as part of this process, we also look to minimize the transportation of waste, as this is another factor that feeds into the cleanup planning. In order again to deliver against the hierarchy, processing is key in terms of reducing, reusing, recycling to minimize waste that requires disposal. Processing capabilities at the Chalk River site are also key to enabling the cleanup and the management of the waste generated from retrieval of legacy waste and decommissioning and environmental remediation activities. Types of processing include things like sorting and segregation, size reduction, decontamination, and immobilization. Storage, again, another important component of the waste management process, and increases to storage capacities and capabilities at the Chalk River site is happening to optimize waste management and, again, enable site cleanup. So there's a couple of the 3 different types of storage, or determinations of storage. So buffer storage is more short-term storage. It's for staging for packages awaiting disposition. There is interim storage up to for waste being stored up to 50 years, and long-term storage, which is storage greater than 50 years. In terms of disposal, this is in line with Canadian strategy, and NSDF is the proposed disposal solution for low-level waste, which predominantly already exists on the Chalk River site in aging waste management areas or current storage. So what does the picture look like at Chalk River? So this map shows a high-level view of the challenges that need to be addressed. This is a bit of a zoomed-in picture of the site. The footprint of the Chalk River site is much larger, and this view shows where CNL operations have been conducted over the last 70 years. Roughly around 6% of the land area of the site has been disturbed or impacted by CNL activity, kind of with ongoing operations and things like the built-up area. So I'm just kind of going to point out a few different bits on this map. So the outline of the built-up area of the site is shown on the top right there. This is the location of the majority of legacy and redundant facilities that require removal. There's also licensed waste management areas and other historic landfills that you can see in dark purple and dark blue. The proposed footprint for the NSDF facility, which would be key in terms of cleaning up those areas. And also labeled on here, it shows the key environmental protection systems that are in place and monitored to minimize impact to the environment and ensure no adverse risk to human health and the environment. What you can't see on here, which again is another key part of the environmental protection portion of restoring and protecting the environment, there's over 2,000 monitoring wells at the site. Regular surface water sampling and environmental media sampling occurs, species at risk protection and ongoing characterization, which is reported on an annual basis. As mentioned previously, waste management practices have evolved over the 70 years operation in line with industry practice, and therefore some of these waste management areas shown date back to the 40s and 50s and are no longer in line with modern practices. As time goes on, the risk to the environment increases from legacy waste management areas and legacy facilities, which is why decommissioning and environmental remediation is key for restoring and protecting the environment. The reason NSDF is needed is to enable the cleanup of the legacy facilities and waste management areas so that the waste is contained in a modern state-of-the-art facility. 90% of the waste that is destined for the proposed NSDF already exists on the site, either at these legacy and operational waste management areas or in legacy redundant facilities, predominantly in the built-up area. CNL has already made significant progress in reducing legacy hazards by removing over 100 redundant buildings from the site. There is more to do, and we are, however, there is more to do, and we are at the beginning of a long journey. So, How is CNL going about the cleanup of the Chalk River site? And before I jump into that, I want to talk briefly about the cleanup function. The cleanup function is a CNL-wide support function that provides the processes, procedures, and guidance to the sites in alignment with latest Canadian regulations to ensure that cleanup plans are developed in the right way so that decommissioning and environmental remediation can be executed to meet the right next land uses and end states. A key part of cleanup planning or planning cleanup is engagement, and this is why we're talking today. It is important to look at the site as a whole and in the context of what the decommissioning and cleanup need to achieve. So the cleanup function is made up of three programs: the land use program, the decommissioning and demolition program, and the environmental remediation program. So the land use program defines how to establish the right next land uses or end states to guide decommissioning and environmental remediation at sites. A key part of this is the importance of early and meaningful Indigenous and stakeholder engagement to ensure that sites develop robust, relevant, and achievable cleanup plans. How this applies at Chalk River is quite unique, as there is an enduring, ongoing science and technology mission, and therefore a key part of cleanup planning for Chalk River in this context is to support revitalization of the site and continued operations. The decommission demolition program defines processes for removal of facilities in line with the right next land uses. And then the environmental remediation program defines the process for environmental remediation to meet the right next land uses as well. What does this really mean for Chalk River? This is where the overview decommissioning and cleanup plan comes in. So the Chalk River overview decommissioning and cleanup plan, what is it? So the Chalk River Overview Decommissioning and Cleanup Plan is currently in development, looking at the site as a whole for cleaning up the site to restore and protect the environment while supporting revitalization and the ongoing missions. So it's an overview of the site condition to be addressed. It will be updated every 5 years in alignment with latest regulation. Which means that as work progresses, as more information is gathered through characterization work, more stakeholder engagement continues, the plan is going to evolve. This iteration of the plan will be submitted to the regulator in early 2023. Over the next 5 years, the focus remains on removal of redundant facilities from the built-up area and continued characterization of waste management areas to inform future cleanup planning, whilst continuing to engage stakeholders. One thing to note is that large-scale remediation efforts cannot proceed without key enabling facilities, like I've mentioned previously, like the NSDF waste processing facilities and waste storage. So as I've mentioned before, there is a key focus on emphasizing the importance to ensure engagement is conducted early on in planning cleanup. One of the things that is key to this for Chalk River is the community advisory panel. CNL established a community advisory panel in 2021 to work with to gain input and discussion, not only on the overview decommissioning and cleanup plan, but the key restore and protect the environment projects, in line with a similar model used around the world on engagement. So in terms of sort of the goals of that engagement, really what we want to be able to do in terms of engagement is help CNL focus on the most important issues, establish shared values, principles, and priorities, listen to and learn from fresh perspectives and ideas, explore the assumptions that CNL has made, ensure broader engagement needs are met, and have that key link into the community. The community advisory panel is managed by third-party facilitators. and it's a discussion-based group held on a quarterly basis. The first session was in September 21, and it was focused on defining the role of the Community Advisory Panel and introducing the Overview Decommissioning and Cleanup Plan. The second session for the Community Advisory Panel, they provided thoughts and input into the cleanup vision for the Chalk River site. And this is something that we want to build into the Overview Decommissioning and Cleanup Plan. Both of the sessions have been really great discussions, and the Community Advisory Panel have already been providing important input. So looking forward to building that relationship now and into the future. We've also started talks with Indigenous communities on the path forward and ensuring that values and existing studies are utilised where possible to reflect the important values of these communities. As I said, we're at the beginning of the journey and building relationships both with Community Advisory Panel, Indigenous communities and the broader public. So I wanted to sort of finish off in a little bit in that vein, because I would like to hear from you on what topics about the cleanup of the Chalk River site would you be interested in hearing more about, so that we can feed this into engagement plans and forward plans. And I think that's where I'm going to stop and give time for questions.
Yes, that is correct, Grace. And I see we already have some questions coming into the Q&A. So just a reminder, if you do have a question, the Q&A function is at the bottom of your Zoom application there. It says Q&A, and you just click on that and you can enter in your questions. Do try to keep it in the scope of this presentation, and if not, we'll try to answer it at a later time. Okay, why don't I go to the first question, which comes from Bill Turner. Is the cleanup plan available to all participants in this webinar? Well, I think, I guess basically to the public.
No, yeah. So it isn't yet, as it is still very much in development, and we are gaining internal feedback, but it is something that we intend to be sharing more broadly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Okay, this is a question, someone just wanted to clarify something. If we can go back to the picture, the map of the site there that showed the different waste management areas, I wanted to know what the waste management area C cover means.
Luke, do you want to take that one?
That means there's a cap on it.
Oh, hang on, I'm not on the
Okay.
right slide. Am I on the right slide? Yes.
It was on the right side, yes, this one.
Okay.
So the cover is that there's a synthetic material, a plastic cover that was installed on top of this area to minimize the amount of water that would infiltrate through the materials there.
All right, thanks, Luke. Okay, the next one again has to do with the slide. So if you go to the slide on waste management, the one that says shows the process steps, yes. So on this slide, the step processing was discussed to include sorting and segregation, size reduction, etc. Do these facilities already exist at Chalk River to perform these processes? Are they built and installed as part of the cleanup plan? So basically, are the facilities here, or is this something that we're contemplating?
It's a bit of a mixture of both. So yes, we do have some facilities, but the waste management side of it and the enabling facilities will kind of progress and evolve as part of this plan. So some exist, and we continue to learn and evolve in terms of waste management capabilities for processing. So a yes and no answer there.
It's Sandra. I'm just going to jump in. Our last webinar that we did in November of 2021 was on waste characterization, and that webinar did talk about the sort and seg facility that we do have up and running as a pilot project right now. So I do encourage participants to go back in their free time and have a look at that webinar to learn a little bit more about the waste characterization process and what we currently do have in place.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, good reminder that, and that is available on our YouTube page. So if that is something that interests you, please do go have a look at that. Okay, we got another question here. Has the preliminary decommissioning plan for Chalk River Laboratories been updated recently? If so, does it still have a 70-year timeline?
So great question. So the ODCP that I was talking about is essentially the next iteration of the comprehensive preliminary decommissioning plan that has been mentioned. So in terms of kind of planning assumptions, the 70-year timeline exists. However, the assumption is for ongoing operational enduring mission. So the 70-year timeline exists. However, the assumption is that operations will be continuing on beyond that.
Okay, thank you, Grace. And I just got one more question here, so I'll try to encourage people to add in some additional questions. And remember, Grace did ask for some specific feedback. If there are areas that you'd like to see us come back and present about, please do let us know. Or if there's a specific question that requires maybe you think a deeper dive or a presentation that we can do, please do let us know. So this question comes from Larry regarding the legacy sites. Is this cleanup and removal process started, or is it waiting until the NSDF is approved and functional?
So in terms of the environmental remediation process, what has started is characterization efforts, which is really to gain greater understanding of the challenges and issues that need to be addressed. In terms of actually being able to go in and remediate, no large-scale remediation can take place until there is available waste management disposal facility for that waste. So we're very much in the planning stages for large-scale remediation at this point.
May I add to this, Grace?
Of course.
Yes, to some extent we have started, but as Grace mentioned, it's smaller projects. You will have seen on the map earlier that there was a pipeline that was extending from the process area all the way to waste management area A. So that pipeline has been removed, and some of the contaminated soil that was associated with that pipeline has been removed and stored until the NSDF is ready. So we're working on some areas, but as mentioned, we need to have some place to dispose of the material before we excavate it.
Yeah, so working within the confines of the existing waste management capabilities.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, we've got a few more questions that have come in here. Is the overview decommissioning cleanup plan being updated as part of the regulatory process for the near surface disposal facility?
So it is, the ODCP is being updated as part of the regulatory process. It is a regulatory requirement. It is not specifically tied to the submission of the NSDF. However, there is an important link, and it incorporates the NSDF as a key enabling facility. So that 5-year review timeframe that I spoke about briefly is the regulatory requirement to update the overview plan. And kind of as time evolves and the plan evolves and you know, the status of NSDF evolves and enabling facilities evolves, that will all come into any future iterations as well. Okay,
thank you, Grace. Sandra, I saw you came on there briefly. Did you have anything to add there, or was that a good?
No, Grace gave a great answer. Thank you.
Okay. So the next question, will the decommissioning plan or the overview decommissioning cleanup plan be provided for review before the part 1 or part 2 commission public hearings for the near surface disposal facility?
No, it will not.
Okay, yes, that's as I think, like Grace, like maybe a little bit about the timeline when
yeah,
will...
so we want to continue to engage sort of on the overview plan over the next year before it goes to the regulator. Again, it's not tied to the regulatory activities of NSDF. It incorporates NSDF as a key picture and key enabling facility. So in terms of sort of the engagement on it, that's when the forward plan is on engagement over the next year.
Okay. Well, that was the last question, and I don't see any more coming in. So I will sort of maybe pause here and see if there's any more questions. Please do try to get them in. If not, I would, which it appears we don't have any more. So, oh, we do have one. What are the cleanup criteria?
Cleanup criteria. So the cleanup criteria for cleaning up the site is levels of contamination that you look to reach. For the Chalk River site, we have initial screening criteria, which goes into establishing the volumes of waste that would be produced based on what level you clean up to. And again, this is a key part of the overview decommissioning and cleanup plan.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Next question, maybe Sandra, you can help us with this one. It's about the NSDF. What is the timeline, I guess, assuming NSDF is approved, for the NSDF to be operational?
Yes, so based on our current schedule estimates, we would expect that NSDF would be operational in 2025. And that again is pending regulatory approval sometime late this summer.
Thanks, Sandra. Okay, so the next question, so I'll just provide some context to help out here. So today we're sort of talking specifically about the Chalk River site, but we do have other sites. We have our Whiteshell site that's going through a cleanup mission. We have Douglas Point, we have which is near the Bruce Power facility. We have G1, which is up in Bécancour. We also have our Port Hope facility. So this person is wondering if the overview decommissioning and cleanup plan for each CNL, is this for each CNL site, or does this only apply, or does it apply to all basically, or does it only apply to Chalk River?
Yeah, so the cleanup function that I talked about is a CNL wide function. So we are working with each of the sites to ensure that their overview plans, looking at the site as a whole, are developed in the right way. So the Chalk River ODCP that we talked about today, very much specific to Chalk River. However, there is an equivalent type of plan for each of those sites, either in development or kind of being engaged on. So we are working across each of those sites to ensure that kind of the cleanup planning is part and parcel of what they're doing.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Alrighty, we don't have any more questions, so I will wrap this up then. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time today. Appreciate the time you've spent here with us, and I hope that you've learned something. And again, if you have any feedback or questions that come to you, please do email us at ermstakeholders@cnl.ca. We'd be happy to answer those questions or provide any additional follow-up. And keep in mind Grace's question towards the end on what sort of things might be of interest to you as we move forward through this overview and decommissioning cleanup plan, and how can we best get that that information out to you and engaged in it. So appreciate your time again. Thank you very much. The YouTube video will be up in the next couple days. Where we hope that you are able to share it. And one last plug for the January 24th webinar as well. So please join us there. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.